We will do a live Q&A throughout the presentation, but if you do have immediate questions, Aubrey will be here to answer those for you as we work through some of the other slides and parts of the presentation here. If you are unable to see the webinar in full screen, please try clicking the square in the upper right of the webinar to enlarge the view. We do want to mention we are not tax advisors and we will not be providing specific tax advice. We will purely be discussing IRS e-filing requirements and the process of e-filing. So for specific tax questions, please contact a tax advisor or the IRS directly. We also won't be able to address specific account questions during the webinar. So if you have an account with Tax 990 and you have an error or a question on your direct account, please email us after the webinar and we will be happy to provide direct assistance, but we won't be able to assist with those account questions during the webinar. We will be recording the webinar and it will be available for review after the event, so please watch your email for a link to the recording. So during our webinar today, we'll be discussing IRS filing requirements, what organization information is required when completing your annual return. We'll talk about the IRS filing deadlines, and we'll do some live FAQs. Like I said, we'll go over frequently asked questions that we receive here at Tax 990, and we will review the questions that you guys have and put into the live chat. To maintain your tax exempt status and remain compliant with the IRS, organizations are required to file a 990 series return on an annual basis. If your organization fails to file a return for 3 consecutive years, you'll risk losing your exempt status. Additionally, penalties may accrue with each year that you do not file a 990 series return. The IRS mandated e-filing for 990 series returns on July 1st of 2019. Organizations filing a return with a tax year beginning date after July 1st, 2019 are required to e-file their returns moving forward. The IRS is moving towards e-filing for many reasons. E-filing reduces the amount of filing errors and helps ensure that the IRS guidelines are met, meaning calculations are more accurate and information provided matches the information in the IRS database. And it makes filing and IRS processing more efficient and provides a quicker turnaround time on an updated form status. There are several important pieces of information you will need prior to e-filing. You'll want to confirm your organization's 9-digit EIN, the organization's address and tax exempt status, the tax year beginning and ending date, and the principal officer information such as their name, phone number, and address. The information you provide on your return must match the information on the IRS database. Most of this information can be found on your organization's IRS determination letter or on previous tax returns. If you don't have this documentation, you may need to contact the IRS prior to filing. 990 series return deadlines are based on the organization's tax year. Your annual 990 series return must be filed by the 15th day of the 5th month following the end of the organization's tax year. Right now, we're focusing on the May 15th deadline. If the 15th of the month falls on a weekend or federal holiday, the deadline is moved to the next business day. Most organizations have either a calendar tax year that runs from January 1st to December 31st, or a fiscal tax year that runs from July 1st to June 30th. However, a fiscal tax year can be any 12-month time frame other than January 1st through December 31st. As I mentioned, we are focusing right now on the May 15th deadline, which would mean the January 1st through December 31st tax year would have a form due on May 15th. If you're short on time and you're concerned you won't be able to complete the return on or prior to the deadline, you can file an 8868 extension form to apply for a 6-month deadline extension. As you can see on the chart here, it breaks down a little bit further what the tax year beginning date and ending date are and what that would make the filing deadline be. Okay, we'll just stop here for a moment and do a quick Q&A. Go ahead and post your questions in the question box and we'll review them. We'll just go through a few and we'll do another one here shortly. Lynn, thank you for that typo. I'll have to go in and get that fixed. Lynn is wondering about the cost of e-filing with Tax 990. If you guys go to tax990.com /pricing, you can view our per form pricing. You're only paying for the form that you file. We do not have additional fees associated with our filing fees, but it is based on the form that you choose and it is a per form basis. So go ahead to our website and you can check out that pricing breakdown. And if you have questions from there, you can send us an email to support@tax990.com and we can review some additional pricing questions that you have. We do offer a couple of package options with the 8868 form. You can pre-purchase your 990 series form when you file the 8868 extension form and get a little bit of a discount on that 8868 form. But again, this is all listed on our pricing page at tax990.com /pricing. Kevin is wondering what you would select as a self-directed HSA in box B and G. Again, as I mentioned earlier, that would be considered direct tax advice. We can't tell you specifically how to complete the form or report your information. You would have to go to the IRS or a CPA to confirm which box or what selection your organization would qualify for. Brian is wondering if Tax 990 offers a way to see the IRS instructions on the form. Yes, we do make the instructions available to you while you're completing the form, so you can quickly reference those while you're working through it. Lynn is wondering if we offer a PDF of the form while you're working through it. We do. You can download a PDF of your form at any time during the filing process. It will be a draft copy and will have a watermark on it. But once you submit your return and transmit it to the IRS, we'll provide you with a professional copy in your account that you can download at any time as well. As I mentioned, we cannot answer account-specific questions. So if you have a question on a specific line or portion in your account, please send us a direct email and our support team will take a look at your account and assist you directly. Stella has some questions about the signing options for the 990 series forms. With Tax 990, if you are completing the form on behalf of your organization, there is not a physical signature required. So the IRS does not require a signature when e-filing if you're filing for your organization. Now, if you're a tax professional and you're preparing the form on behalf of an organization as a paid preparer, Tax 990 offers the 8453 TE signature form that you can send electronically to your client and they can electronically sign it and return it to you. So again, just to verify that, if you're filing for your organization, a signature is not required. If you're filing as a paid preparer for another organization, we offer an 8453 signature form that you can electronically complete between you and your client. Jennifer's got some questions about the 990T. Now, again, we can't tell you specifically how to report the information or if you're required to file it, but a 990T is to be filed for unrelated business income. So if you are reporting unrelated business income on your 990 form, then you can complete a 990T for the additional information or for a refund or backup withholding. Okay, we're going to go ahead and jump back into the presentation here and go over some FAQs that Tax 990 often sees, and we will follow up in a few minutes with an additional live FAQ. Brian is wondering again about the IRS instructions. I will go into the site here shortly and provide you with some direction on how to do that. If you we'll look at it in just a minute. Otherwise, you can also send us an email to support@tax990.com, and we'd be happy to send you some screenshots on how to access it from there as well. Okay, let's go back in to some FAQs here. So how do I change my accounting method? The IRS requires you to submit an application for change in accounting method using Form 3115 prior to making the change. You cannot just randomly decide to change your accounting method for your organization. There are steps you need to take with the IRS to do that first. How do I check the status of my exempt status application? It's best to contact the IRS directly for information on the status of your application. Tax 990 does not have information on application status, but the IRS, if you give them a call, and they should be able to give you a very specific status update on that. How do I add a schedule? So with Tax 990, we will generate the schedules automatically based on the information you provide on the 990 series return. So if you indicate that you are a 501c3 when you're completing your form on Tax 990, then Schedule A will automatically generate, and the specific sections you are required to complete based off of your 990 input will generate on Schedule A. So you're not, with Tax 990, you're not completing unnecessary schedules or unnecessary portions of a schedule, only what specifically applies to your organization based on how you completed the 990 form. We get so many questions from people wanting to just upload something that they've completed by hand. Tax 990 does not provide the option to upload a completed document. You'll need to create an account and complete the form using the online filing format within the account. If you have a revoked tax exempt status, you'll need to submit an application with the IRS to have your status reinstated. You can complete either Form 1023 or 1024 or 1024A, but please speak with the IRS or a tax accountant to confirm which form you need to submit for retransmit or for reinstatement. Tax 990 has no way to know if your status was revoked, and we do not provide the steps to have it reinstated. Once you follow the necessary steps the IRS provides, oftentimes they request that you file previous years or years that you hadn't submitted to them. Tax 990 does offer 2020, 2021, and 2022 e-filing. So if that were the case and you're required to backfile, you can do 3 years with us. But again, we don't know if your status was revoked, and you have to start with contacting the IRS to determine what steps need to be taken. As I just mentioned, we offer the current and 2 prior years at a time. So once the 2023 forms are released, we'll stop offering 2020. We offer the 2 prior and the current year. Right now we have 2020, 2021, and 2022. I need to update that. We get a lot of questions on which form to file. So your form that you choose is based off your financial status of the year. So if you filed a 990 EZ last year, can you file a 990 in this year? So if your financial activity changes from year to year, your form type may also change. If last year you made over $50,000 in gross receipts and filed the 990 EZ, and then this filing season you made less than $50,000 in gross receipts, you may qualify for the 990 in. You don't have to file the same form year after year. It is specifically based on your financial status. Now, there is an exception to that. If you are a private foundation and your determination letter indicates you're a private foundation, you must file the 990 PF regardless of your financial status throughout the year. We get a lot of questions from possible clients wondering if they can save and come back later. With Tax 990, your information and progress saves automatically, so you can come and go as you please and pick up where you left off at any time. We do understand that filing these forms can be a lengthy process and take several days. You may have to go search for additional information or speak to other members of the organization. So every time you click next on the page or input a specific value or line item, it saves automatically. So when you come back later, you can pick up right where you left off. What is the penalty for filing late? So a penalty of $20 a day or $105 a day for large organizations will be imposed for the late filing. The penalty amount can go up to a maximum of $10,500 or 5% of the organization's annual gross receipts. This is from the IRS database. We have no way to determine specifically what your penalty is at that time. If you have questions on penalties, or if you're not sure if you have penalties, you would have to contact the IRS directly and provide them with the necessary information, and they can give you more of a direct response on how much those penalties are at the time. Should IRS Form 990 filings be made public by exempt organizations? So the IRS requires exempt organizations to make their 990 series returns available for public inspection. The form that is available to the public is required to have the same information and documentation as what was transmitted to the IRS. Now, the IRS isn't updating their database in a couple, well, I think they're still back on 2021 at this time. So in the past, organizations would just go to the public database and find their copy that they had to make public. Since the IRS hasn't updated that in a while, organizations are struggling to be able to access their forms to make public. So with Tax 990, as I mentioned, we do provide PDF copies of your forms, so you can do with that what you need to and make it public on your websites or however you need to, available at request. But it's the most convenient way at this time to make that option available. How long can a return take to get accepted or rejected by the IRS? Generally, it takes about 24 to 48 hours for the IRS to accept or reject a return. However, during busy seasons, it may take a little bit longer. We typically advise 3 to 5 days, but that definitely can change. If you file on May 15th, it may take up to, maybe a week, 7 to 10 days to get a updated status, because there are so many forms coming in at the same time. We always suggest filing early so that you get that form status as early as possible. Right now, as of today, we're seeing about a 3 to 5 day turnaround time on those accepted or rejected status. Is it mandatory for organizations to list their primary activities and program services on the 990 and 990EZ? The IRS requires at least one primary activity, purpose, and program service to be provided on the 990 or EZ return. This is incredibly important a lot of times for donors. They're going to look at this information and see what your primary activity is, what your program services are. It helps donors determine whether or not they want to contribute. It is required to be completed. We do typically tell people, if you don't have anything to put there, our forms will accept a 0 or an NA response, but it is important that you provide some kind of information, and that can be anything. If you put NA or 0, you're basically telling the IRS and your donors that your organization did nothing. You didn't accomplish anything, and you didn't do anything throughout the year, which doesn't look good when you're trying to get donations and grants and things like that. So it is important that you complete that information. We can't tell you specifically what to put there or what would qualify, but it is required to be completed either way. We get a lot of questions when people are creating new accounts on why the EIN doesn't show up in the application. If your organization is new and has not been updated in the IRS database, we're unable to update it in our database. And the same thing, if your organization's been revoked, the status has been revoked, it's the same kind of process. So you can proceed on, you can still go on to the next page, add your organization and transmit, but it doesn't always show up immediately in our database if it's not been updated with the IRS. Is the e-sign needed while filing the return with the IRS? We spoke a little bit about this earlier, but if you are filing as a organization member, you only need to enter a 5-digit PIN as your electronic signature. You choose this PIN. It's not something that the IRS ever gave you or we gave you or anything like that. It's a 5-digit PIN of your choice that serves as an electronic signature. If you're filing as a paid preparer on behalf of an organization, then you have the option to do the 8453, excuse me, TE electronically. You can send it to your client to have signed, and it will be sent back to you. We get questions about like a zero reporting on a 990 PF. If your organization's a private foundation, you have to file the 990 PF every year, no matter what. It is mandatory. So even if you have zero gross revenue, in order to maintain your status, you still do have to file that 990 PF form. How do I know whether my organization is tax exempt from the IRS? If a charitable organization files a 1023 with the IRS for application of exemption and receives approval from the IRS, they can be considered tax exempt. When these steps are taken, an organization will receive a determination letter, which will have all of the information the organization needs on their tax exempt status, such as what their tax exempt status is. Are they a 501(c), 501, or C3, C7, those different options. What form would they qualify for? Is it the EZ or the PF or the 990? The determination letter has information on your organization's tax year, all those things. So it's incredibly important when you do receive exempt status and you do receive the determination letter that you keep that somewhere close so that you can use it year after year for this annual return. We get a lot of questions from clients wondering if they need an EFIN to file their 990 series return. With Tax 990, you do not need an EFIN. You only need your organization's EIN to file the return. An EFIN is used as an electronic return originator, and you are not required to have that to use Tax 990. State requirements are all different. We do not support state filing for any state other than California at this time. If you're not sure if you need to file with your state directly, you need to contact your state Department of Revenue for information on their filing requirements. For the tax preparers or paid preparers, with a PTIN, you only need a PTIN to file with Tax 990. You do not need an ERO number. You can use Tax 990 and just provide your PTIN. When you create an account, you'll be asked these questions, and all you have to do is select that you are a paid preparer, and you'll walk through the steps to add your PTIN and paid preparer information. So Tax 990, we are a market-leading IRS authorized e-file provider. We have over a decade of experience e-filing tax forms. When you file with Tax 990, we provide you with excellent live customer support. We have competitive pricing and options to file for previous tax years, as I had mentioned. Since the IRS has mandated e-filing, we are a great solution for electronically filing your annual 990 series return. And again, we provide a professional copy for your records. Collectively, Tax 990, we are a sister product with Tax Bandits for business reporting of W-2s, 941s, 1099s. We have ACA-wise for your Affordable Care Act reporting and Express Extension. Collectively, we support over 70 business tax forms and are, like I said, have over a decade of experience. The process for filing with Tax 990 can be very simple. You're going to create the account, add your organization, complete your form, review it in the audit. We do an internal audit just to make sure that you've met all of the IRS guidelines and you don't have any missing parts on your form. Because you've selected this was generated and was also completed. Makes sure all of your calculations are correct based on IRS instructions, so on and so forth. So we don't allow you to transmit until you've cleared that audit, so you can be confident that you're submitting to the IRS the most completed form. We do provide the option to share the return. If necessary, you can share it electronically or you can share it manually, meaning if you are the treasurer of an organization and the board needs to review it prior to transmitting, you can either email them a link to access the form and review it, or you can print a PDF copy and share it with them prior to transmitting. So if they have any suggestions or edits that need to be made, that can be done prior to transmitting, and then you just transmit it to the IRS. Okay, we'll open it up for another quick Q&A. If you want to go ahead and put your questions in the chat, we can review them together. Again, we can't answer account-specific questions during the webinar. If you have questions specific to your account or to your form, please send us an email to support@tax990.com so we can access your account and review it with you. Jennifer is wondering if your file on May 15th and it's rejected, can you resend it, and is it considered late? If you file on the 15th and it's rejected, you do have, like, I think it's a 5-day grace period to edit and retransmit that form. And it won't be considered late if you get it retransmitted within that grace period. Oftentimes with a rejection, you have to contact the IRS. So we do provide you with an email as soon as the form status update is provided. So you'll get an email stating it was rejected and the reason it was rejected. At that time, you can either contact us and we can provide some additional direction, or you can contact the IRS to determine what needs to be done next, and then you can edit it and retransmit it. We cannot provide direct tax advice or tell you specifically if your organization is required to file or how to file. You would need to contact the IRS to determine your filing requirements or what specific form type you need to file. Stella is wondering about the 8453 TE and how long it takes. So Stella, when you complete the form and you send the signature page to your client, they will receive an email. As soon as you click the link, they'll get an email. In that email, they'll have a link to access the form. They'll have to input the EIN to obtain access. They can review the form that you completed and then electronically sign the 8453 TE and submit it back to you. As soon as they submit it back to you, you'll be notified via email that your client has responded to your 8453 TE, and it will be updated on your account and on your form. At which point you will go into the form to the signature section and you will electronically sign it, and then you can proceed to transmit. Depending on how long it takes your client to review and sign is dependent on how long it takes to do the 8453, but typically it can be a very quick process. Sherman is wondering how to find out if the 1023 was ever filed for their organization. You would have to contact the IRS to determine the status of your organization and specifically what was filed. Like I said, Tax 990 doesn't support the 1023 form, so we don't have updates on the status of your organization directly. We assist with the 990 series forms, but outside of that, we don't know your organization's status, so please contact the IRS. I'm going to wait just a moment longer. If anybody has additional questions, please put them in the chat and we can take a look at them together. I did pull up here, let me see. I did pull up the account directly. I wanted to show you guys just a couple of features in the account that were asked about during the presentation here. So when you create an account, you can add multiple organizations to one account. So in this account, I have 2 organizations here that I manage from the same account. I can add an additional organization just by clicking the Add Organization option. And then I see everything all activity that I've done within this account for this organization. So if I change my organization here, I'll see all of the activity in the account for the other organization. As I have mentioned in the presentation, you get an acceptance notice or a rejection notice regardless. So when the IRS provides a status update, you'll get an email indicating what the status update is, and when you log into your account, you'll be able to view it on the home screen here. If it's accepted, You can view and download a copy of your acceptance letter. If it's rejected, you can view the reason it was rejected. And then you can fix it and retransmit it to the IRS if necessary. The other thing we talked a little bit about during the presentation was the option to view a form. So this one you can see has been transmitted to the IRS. This one has been paid for but not transmitted, and this one is still in progress. So we can view the form of any of these options, all the transmitted, the paid not transmitted, and the in progress. As I mentioned, you can view the instructions within the account. If you're working in the form-based filing format, let me pull that up here. You can view the instructions on the format. So this icon here allows you to view all of the instructions. Nancy is wondering about filing a short year and then following it up with a second return. So you can file a short year with Tax 990, but please keep in mind you can only file one form per year with Tax 990. So if you file a short year for 2022, you cannot file another short year for 2022 with Tax 990 in the same account. It won't allow you to start two forms for the same tax year. Nancy, I would suggest, however, confirming with the IRS what tax year you need to file for both of the years in reference on your question. Okay. I think since the questions have pretty much come to an end, we'll go ahead and come back to our presentation here. But as I said, if you guys have any additional questions, our support team is available. You can give us a call. You can send us an email. We have live chat team available. We're happy to help. So please reach out to us for any questions that you have. We'll provide the best guidance we have available. If it's not related to Tax 990, if it is related to Tax 990, we'll look at your account together and figure out what's going on. So please reach out to us. During peak times, we will, like the May 15th deadline, it may be a little bit longer of a wait on the phone or for an email response, but we will absolutely get back to you. Like I said, we suggest filing early just to provide you with the best support we have. But if it comes the 15th and you're working on your form, we will be here extended hours. You can reach out to us. If we aren't able to answer your call, just leave us a message and we'll give you a call back. You guys will be getting a coupon or discount code for attending the webinar today. We appreciate you all. We appreciate you using Tax 990. We will send out that coupon code in an email before end of day tomorrow, so keep an eye out for your email. Please make sure you guys have the correct email address when you sign up for these webinars so that you don't miss out on educational information or discount codes or things like that. We hate when clients say that they don't get the emails and they don't get the discount codes because they used the wrong email address or whatever. So hopefully you guys provided great email addresses and get all of our future knowledge and information and discounts and so on and so forth. But we do appreciate you guys coming today and listening and all of your great questions. Your questions help us build a better software, so we appreciate you. We do have a great YouTube channel and blog database. So if you have questions, if you want step-by-step videos, there are so many useful resources on our YouTube channel and our blog database. So please check those out. There's different videos on walking you through step-by-step how to do balance sheets and full forms and the different filing formats and changing information and making updates. Just a huge list of things. If you don't find what you're looking for in those, please send us an email. We're happy to provide step-by-step instructions. Again, give us a shout, give us a call. We're here to help. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for attending our webinar today. Keep an eye out for some other ones that we're going to be hosting here over the next couple of months. And have a great rest of your Wednesday afternoon.